Men always have to be strong and show no weakness. Well, we're stepping into a time and an era where that is now becoming an incorrect statement. Men are human beings and they're going through emotions as well. Hi, and thank you for being here with me today. My name is Evette and I'm going to be your host for this video today. And so what I am best known for is having written this big book called Metaphysical Anatomy. It is full of psychosomatic stress points related to elements for adults. And yes, we also have the kids version as well. So if you're a parent, you might love this because your ancestry is talking. Are you listening? So I'm really looking forward to this topic today because this is a very powerful topic that needs to be addressed. And I'm really going to be focusing here today on how the stigma of men and how they should be showing up and how to deal with weaknesses, how to deal with vulnerabilities, especially when the pressure is being placed on men to show up and behave a certain way during tremendously vulnerable and challenging times. First of all, for men, it was never okay or allowed to feel what they feel, period. So even if their partners are going through tremendous depression, it's expected of men to suppress. It's expected of men to just show up strong all the time. And when men start to resist acknowledging how they really truly feel with their emotions, what's going to happen? The emotions are going to become stronger. They're going to become louder and indirectly express themselves in other, in most cases, not all, but destructive ways. Now listen, baby blues, it affects up to 80% of new moms. So here's already one tip that I want to share with you of how you can start to adjust your mindset. Instead of waking up every day thinking, oh my God, here we go again. Look what you've just set your entire day up. That's your platform. That's the platform on which you're now going to walk on and experience your day-to-day emotions and activities and your approaches to it. So one thing that I know that my partner and I, that we started to learn how to deal with is to remember the days if you've traveled, right? Remember like the adventures of travel. Lack of sleep is part of it. It's part of the game. And so is also being a parent. So something that really helped, I've seen a lot of partners or dads, when the wife or the partner is going through, a lot of, low depressing moments, is to actually pretend. And this is where we need to be playful again. Pretend that you're just on a long, extended overseas trip going through constant time changes. Because we all know what sleep deprivation does. It's tough. And this doesn't just affect the mom. It affects the dad as well. So, in fact, when we start to look at even the emotions that fathers can go through, 25% of new fathers experience paternal postnatal depression. Right? So when you're going through your own emotions and you're seeing your partner is collapsing and having, really bad days and really dark moments as well, which I also had as a mom, which I will talk about in different videos. But this is something that needs to be handled with love and with care, not just for your partner, but for you as the father as well. And structure helped our family tremendously. Right? Have rules, have like time limits for visitors wanting to see, maybe you guys or the child or the mom. If you're tired, you're tired. That's it. You're not obligated to entertain, right? You're not an entertainment center. Right now you're going through a new phase of having a newborn child, having, adjustments that you're going through as well. You don't have to be and show up and be bright and all shiny all the time. If you're having a low day, then just say, today's not the best day. That's it. And move the dates. Move engagements. Another thing that was hard for me in the beginning, but I started to actually get used to it, is to ask friends to help out with house errands or house chores. You can always do different fun energy exchanges that you can do something else for someone else when you're in the right frame of mind and when you have your energy a little bit more stabilized, when you've kind of gotten your footing into this new path of being a parent. Because listen, let me just be honest with you. No one, regardless of all these great speakers out there and giving all this great advice, no one is qualified for this job as a parent. We all have our shit shows. We all have our moments. We all have our frustrations. It's just a matter of how vulnerable are you going to allow yourself to be honest about it. Because let's all just be relatable. Let's all just be human together. It's also about what we learn from these experiences and what we're going to do to correct it and to apply these solutions then to our lives as well. Because rules exist because we create them, right? And we should only create rules and structures that works for us, right? Create rules and structures that works for you and your partner. Right? That's very important. It's not about, oh, this person did that. Should we do the same? No. If you're asking yourself that question, then maybe not. No. Because it should resonate. It should feel right to you. It should be something that helps you to improve your quality of life and also your day-to-day life. Right? That's what rules are for. It's not to create constraint and pain and distress. It's there to actually help you. So shift your mindset in terms of the structure and the rules that you also implement that is there to support you. It's not something that's going to be an added extra burden. It's there to create a sense of control as well. Something else that's also very important is to have to work out what is it going to be your go-to strategy, right? What is your go-to strategy when things get tough? And make sure also that your partner has a go-to strategy as well. Maybe your partner might be in such a bad headspace that they don't even know what it should be. Maybe you can help them to figure out, by prompting them with some questions or ideas or suggestions. And sometimes what that can be something as simple as just speaking to a healthcare practitioner. So now I'm bringing in my husband, Victor, and he's going to be talking to you guys a little bit about, his emotions and his experience with going through someone else that is going through all these chemical changes and hormonal changes. I mean, you guys can see we have a second one coming, so we're very excited, but I have to say this time, I feel so much more prepared, and which I will talk to you guys a little bit later about in terms of how am I preparing myself to not find myself back in that dip. So share with us here what you went through and how you handled yourself and to get yourself through that, because two people going through a rough time it's tough, right? So now I'm going to hand it over to Victor. So please share with us what your experience was, and how did you just I call him Mr. Positive, but I would love to hear, how did you manage that?
Well, it's like everything in life. It's I think the key is take care of what you can control yourself, right? And what you cannot control, just let it be and accept. Just and better times will come. So I focused on just being present with my wife, being present with my daughter, and I did my stuff, my workout, my meditation, my work, and just like that, and not try to think too much, just take baby steps, and just make sure that the things I can control I do well, right? Being present, and when your partner goes through a strong phase like that, and they're also very sensitive and stuff, it's better to kind of, just let it flow, not interfere too much, right? And focus on what I can control. Basically, in a nutshell, that's what I did.
And one other thing that you actually forgot to mention when we did have this conversation, because I asked him, because I was baffled. I sat there and I'm like, how did you do that? Because I don't know if I would have been able to cope with a partner who went through, these rough times and these dark moments, and there's no explanation for it. And one thing that you said that was tremendously powerful, so powerful, was that he said, I am already happy. Remember you said
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So you should never base your own happiness on other things, other people, right? Like, yeah. So for me, I'm happy, you know, on myself, and I'm not dependent on my wife being happy or not, or like that. That's the thing. Obviously, you know, it's not easy. You know, if your partner is in a dark space, or you know, not positive or something, but you just, you know, you do your best in the moment. You focus on what you can do best and at that moment.
Because something that I love so much about many other things about him is what I also took away from that when he said that, well, I am already happy. I wasn't reliant on you being happy so that I can be happy, right? Because then you're never in control of your happiness. You're never in control of your mental state, your inner strength, because it's constantly going to fluctuate as people and your circumstances fluctuate. And one other thing that I also have to really commend you for is that he did not try to fix. He didn't go into fixing mode, because that creates a pattern. It creates almost like an approach of there's a problem. And if you can't solve the problem, what do we feel? We feel disappointment. We feel inadequate. We feel awkward. We feel like we can't manage ourselves or our situation. And what that normally breeds, what that brings up, disappointment, right? We feel disappointed because we're not in a solution-orientated mode. But now here's the catch. When you are in a solution-orientated mode, it's not about how do I fix this. In situations and in circumstances like this, absolutely go to doctors, speak to therapists, look for solutions. But when you are hitting that moment where it's just not in your control, what he said was, and he really did that, he just flowed with it. He was literally just like this presence in the background that I just knew I could fall back on. I knew he was going to be there, and he was consistently there. And that already made it so much easier for me to handle myself and to handle the situation in itself. Just knowing that there's that soft place to fall on, even though I didn't understand or he didn't understand what was going on, but just that consistency in showing up in a very consistent way, which is not an ask. Like, I'm not asking men to do that, because it's not possible. When he had a bad day, which of course he also did, and where things with me maybe were a little bit too much, he'll go read his books and, you know, go have his distance. He'll tell me where he is, but I'm going to go be there right now. I'm just going to have some silence, and, you know, he'll check in with me regularly. So that's also a really beautiful way of how you handled that and did that. Because listen, guys, we're not expecting as women and as partners from you to always have to be strong, always have to do the right thing, always have to, you know, just be, you know, power your way through it, because that is not reasonable. There's such a toxic stigma on men of expecting them to always just be strong and just to hold it all together, because that's been a generational expectation, right? So, and I think you handled that really well, where he was like, okay, well, today I'm not okay, but not making me feel that it was my fault, like just really handling it just absolutely really beautifully. I have to say that I'm very amazed at how he did. And I feel with the second one, I think I feel so much more prepared. And he also, you know, we already have, you know, what we're going to do, what not to do. Like, we've really learned with little Zaya, and she's been an amazing teacher for us and still for me to this day, which I will talk about in other videos. But yeah, so that was really great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Welcome.
So now, also having said all of that, I want to add just quickly a few more points here that can also be helpful. As challenging as it sometimes might seem, try not to make negative comments. Try not to judge when a partner maybe opens up about disruptive thoughts, even though it might seem like, oh my God, this is too much to digest. Just acknowledge that this is their experience that they're going through, and be the compassionate witness. Maybe sometimes a partner just needs to just let the energy out, because when we express what we feel, there's a release of energy. It doesn't mean you have to receive it. It just means be like that pillar. just in the background, that can be the compassionate witness and let the energy be released and see it from that perspective rather than you being burdened with how they're feeling, right? So this is a moment where if you feel you need to help and you don't know how, have a healthcare practitioner that you can speak to for advice. Someone that can help you. This is not a burden for you to carry on your own. If you're not a doctor, if you're not, a professional that knows how to deal with these things, don't try to be one. Don't try to act like one, because you are going to set yourself up into a bottomless pit of feeling like you're always sinking in problems that you don't know how to resolve. And guys, listen, I know you don't like to feel unresourceful. I'm not a guy, but I don't like to feel unresourceful either. Right? So do things and take steps that's not going to leave you feeling unresourceful. Right? So this is very, very important. And also try not to rationalize what your world looks like to your partner. Because listen, your partner's world is going to be looking very, very different to yours. And to try to match that is not going to work. You're going to make your partner feel like there's something wrong with them even more, apart from what they are already struggling with, right? So that's one thing to also say, and not to try to say, I understand, because maybe you really don't, right? We don't always know what's going on in someone else's mind. We don't know what's going through their heart and the emotions that they're feeling. If you say you feel sad and I say, well, I feel sad too, I can absolutely assure you that if we had to really break down what that sadness is like and feels like, you're going to have a different description of it, because we have different predispositions. We have different ways of interpreting and processing our emotions and thoughts. We might use the word sad as both of us so that we can relate to each other, right? But it doesn't mean that it's going to match every single ounce of experience that added up to the sadness, right? So that's very, very important to also remember. Because let me tell you, if your partner could see things from your perspective, they would have. They absolutely would have by now. And they would have felt a lot better as well. But they can't. And it's not because they don't want to. There is a certain part and aspect where they just cannot relate to your reality. And now you're in the same boat where you cannot relate to their reality. So instead of trying to convince each other of what these realities feel like and trying to get each other to, dive into it and to understand it, let that go. You don't have the biochemical resonance to even tap into these two different worlds. So find a different way to relate to each other through conversation, through goals, maybe something that you're dreaming of to doing in the future. Create a positive platform to connect on, something that will create or brew excitement or some sense of a glimmer of that flash of light of hope, because that always can be created. Another thing also is, if you're worried that your partner might harm themselves or the child, then you have to take this very seriously. And it's very important to seek medical support, regardless of how your partner feels about it. This is something that should never, ever be played with. Another point also is positive reinforcement, right? It's key to hold them in the highest light. Even if they're going through the lowest moment, believe in them and hold them in the highest light. Because listen, have you ever spoken to someone and you just felt really incompetent or shy or not good in that person's presence? And then one day you speak to someone else and you feel really great. And you go like, wow, I feel really good. I feel confident. I feel positive. We can feel how people feel about us. And we can subconsciously respond to that. I've seen this for time and time and again with all the people that I've worked with, all the events that I've taught. This is very real. So hold your partner in the highest light. See them as a resourceful person who can overcome this, who can do this. Your partner has overcome and survived tremendous things in their lives. And they will overcome this as well with the right support, with the right, even if they need medication, then so be it. There's nothing wrong with it. This is a biochemical reaction that the body is having an adjustment challenge to, right? I have many more other videos where you can look at about postpartum depression, about the hormones and how the body also reacts to that. So positive reinforcement is key. Even if you don't actually say it to them, let your attitude reflect that. Let your thoughts reflect that. Hold positive thoughts of your partner. Keep reminding and reminding yourself of the good things that they have done. What are they doing right now? What are they doing right in their life? Think back to the success that they've also achieved, because what you're seeing right now is a very low moment that they're going through, but it's not who they are. And that is what's very tremendously important to remember, right? So take also the emotional load off of you and understand that you're not responsible for how your partner is feeling. It's not your fault, right? So you can support them by being just a reliable, consistent presence in their life. So there you have it. And remember, please seek medical support. There is absolutely no shame in seeking help. Break the silence and get your life back on track. And also remember that you also have to look after yourself as well, because you are 50% more prone to developing depression yourself if your support system is not healthy. So make sure that you also yourself have support, that your partner has support. And the only way that you're going to create that is by being proactive and asking for it shamelessly. Because there's nothing wrong with going through these waves with these emotions. There's so many parents out there that's suffering in absolute silence because we associate asking for help with shame. For me personally, asking for support is a sign of strength, because we recognize that there's something that we don't understand, and we need someone else or something else to step in that can help us to understand that. It's the same as taking your car to the mechanic to get fixed, because maybe you're not a mechanic, you don't know how to fix the car, but you're great at looking after the car in other ways. But there's certain parts in the car that you just don't understand. So what do? We go to get professional advice. Do you feel the same way when you feel that you don't know how to fix your car and take it to a mechanic? No. Right? Adapt that mindset. That's all that it is. Until next time, see you guys. So guys, there you have it. Also remember to subscribe to my channel, stay up to date. And also I have a free MAT membership website where we have so many courses up there. There's meditations, there's workshops, whatever you need, it's there. There's so many wonderful webinar replays as well that you can benefit from and also to observe and to learn from. Guys, also remember that I have written 18 books. 18, 1-8. And one of many among them are Metaphysical Anatomy and Psychosomatics for Children. So this one is the Psychosomatics for adults. This one is the Psychosomatics for kids. So these books are super popular. People love it. If you want to learn more about how your body works, understanding messages behind it, maybe you have that gnawing pain or maybe an ailment that's surfacing and you want to understand what is it that your body is trying to tell you. Guys, these books are going to be absolutely invaluable to you. You can find it at evettebooks.com, where you will also find all my other 18 books. And guys, also remember to keep asking all these great questions. I love to answer your questions at Ask Evette, where we discuss, life conundrums and, life challenges, and just answer questions perhaps where you feel, quite stuck in your life. I would love to share my perspective with this and to help you to resolve perhaps certain pain points that you might be having in your life as well. So guys, remember to stay in touch. There's so many great things that's happening. And also something really awesome is that this book is already also in video format. So imagine 679 medical elements in video format, and with meditations and healing courses, workshops, masterclasses, everything behind that in our Platinum membership site. So guys, remember to check that out. There is so many great things happening there. So see you there.